Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of the self-hosted notes app in the 3DVista series. In part 1 I discussed a little bit about what we're going to be creating in this series. In part 2 I've been discussing a little bit the interface, about how it looks in 3DVista, all those different skin components on top of each other. And in part 3 I'm going to be starting to build this type of base from scratch. Maybe I'm going to add in a template as well that you can just import into baserow. But before I consider that, I would like to just start from scratch and show you how to just do it yourself. This way you also have the capability to customize things to your own needs and play around with it, and then you understand much better what is going on. So I've created a new workspace. I've got baserow hosted on my own server. I got a tutorial for that is available on how to self-host baserow on your own. If you don't want to go through the effort of self-hosting, you can just go to baserow.io and create an account, and you can start in the cloud environment of baserow and follow along from that point on. So this is the most easy thing to do. But, you know, as I mentioned, it's about a self-hosted notes app. I'm doing this in a self-hosted environment here. Let's see. So, what we'll be doing is we're going to create a new database. Later on, we're going to be creating an application. But it all starts with the database. And so in this database, we're going to call this self-hosted notes app. Well, self-hosted notes database. Later we'll have the app, the interface. This is the backend, basically, and later we'll have the front end. Call this backend. Now, in here, we're going to be needing, the first one, we're going to be creating notes. So in here, we'll just rename this, call this notes. And the very first field, I want this to be the note itself. So I can go over here and say long text, hit save. I'll call this note. And this is a default, but let's just remove this. I want the primary field to be the note, not a secondary field. In here, I have the text. Now, one thing to note is that if you do want to have rich text, meaning a bold text and all that stuff, you might want to do the note as a secondary field, because then you get some extra options like rich text formatting. So not too important, but yeah, for some reason I don't find this important enough right now. But if you like this kind of stuff, you can say, okay, put this in here, and you can make it bold, and you could put in links, and let users do that once they're creating the notes inside the virtual tour. For now, I'll just keep it very simple and keep it not rich text formatted. Keep this the first item. And what we'll need at this point is the view link. So you could think, okay, it's a link, so I'll need a URL field. But we're only gonna have the hashtag and then everything after, so that doesn't mean the full URL. For that reason, I'm just going to use a single line text and call this a view link. Now, the naming of this is going to be important because of how the JavaScript code is set in the template in 3DVista. If you call this something different, you need to also change it in 3DVista JavaScript code, which you can. But if you just want to keep it simple, follow along and keep the name exactly the same. So I'll call this view link. And I'll have something like username, which is basically the person creating it. But before I'm going to create a field over here, I'm just going to create a table of users. So we have the notes. Now I'll create a table called users. And here I'll put in a bunch of users. Ronald, Peter, Willem. So these are the users, and for now I'll just keep it like this. We'll get back to this later. But the reason I'm creating this field here is that now we can go back to the notes. And here we can say link to table, and link it to the users. And it automatically sets the name users. I'm going to call this user name, like this. This is going to be reflecting the person who's creating the node. So I can also add this as a description, so that we always know, hey, what this field means. User who's creating the node in Vector 2. In here, the view link, we can say and I would want to have the user assign. So I'm going to do again a link to table. It's going to be again the same user table. And here I'll say user assign. And again, try to keep the names the same so that it's just going to work as well in the 3DVista thing. Otherwise, check the code. We're just going to leave things as they are and put in the description. All right, I'll create this one. And later on, we're also going to have commands. For now, I'm going to keep the base extremely simple. You can also add multiple tours and all that stuff. But it's going to complicate things, and I want you to stick with me. Let's just double check users. And the users, what we could already start doing here, you can see we have nodes and user assign. Let's rename this to say nodes. Now, something we could already be doing is setting an email. And that's for later on when we're going to be creating the application. People need to have an email and a password. I'll call this user email. And now we're going to be creating a password. So here, this one, user password. And that's it. So we can set some passwords over here. Now what I want to do is I want to use this form, use a form over here. And that form will need to create the items in this database. And then once we have that set up, we can then start to see, okay, let's create an interface on top of this. Let users log in into a page and all that stuff. But for now, I want to connect this database with the 3DVista form. So what we'll be doing is creating here a form, add new node. I'll put in here, add new node. And I'll just say add all. So we have the node, we have the view link, we have the username and the user assign. And here I put in something like node has been added. Now, one thing you could do here is say receive notification and submit, so that you as the administrative user of this baserow instance can see the activity that's happening within your environment. So every time something happens in here, someone creates a node, you can receive the notification. Later on, we're going to be looking at sending an email notification to the assigned user. But that will have like another thing. For now, I'll just say yes, sure, I want to receive a notification. Just me being the admin. At this point, what we need is we need to share this form, create a private link, and copy this URL. And now what we do is we go back to 3DVista. We go to the main container of this thing. And over here, we can say execute JavaScript. And what we'll do over here is taking this link that is already in here, or maybe I put in some text in the template, we'll say replace me. But anything between these commas, the single quotation marks, we'll paste in this link. Yeah, I'm going to remove this project ID. No, maybe it might be here. It might not be there. For now, let's just try it out and see if it works now. So I'll say done. And I have some logic added, if I'm not mistaken, to automatically hide these things, like hide on init, hide on init. So if correctly, if we preview, we don't need to hide this ourselves. Too bad that doesn't work. So I'll need to still hide this myself. It might be fixed in when I release this. Okay. So start nodes, and let's see if it actually shows up a form right now. Yes, it does. That's great. So as you can see, the code is already automatically pre-filling the deep link, which is really nice. The username for some reason is not being added here. So let's see what's going on here. Yeah, in this case, I'm not using a variable. I've been using this as a test. Later on, I'll make this a variable, but right now, for testing purposes, I put this in quotation marks, and I wanted to have something fixed in there. And the reason it's not pre-filling is because row_node doesn't exist with lowercase letters. So when we go over here and we go to users, you can see that we have row_node with a capital R. So for now, I'll just do it like this, and later we'll do this stuff dynamically based on who's actually being logged in. So let's preview this again. And start nodes, click here. And now we can see that row_node is being pre-filled here as well. Now, what we would like eventually is to have these fields hidden, which I'll get to right after submitting the first one. So let's test this out and say test node, user assigned to Peter, and hit submit. Okay, node has been added. Now what we can see is, well, I get a notification in my being the admin. So that's one thing. But we can also just see it over here. When we go back to the nodes and then we change the view to grid, we can see the test node right there. So that is how the 3DVista is being connected with baserow. And now I'm going to show you how these things are being hidden or shown, like if you need to troubleshoot. So right now I put in an X behind everything, and I'll be removing this. So you can see nhide is username. Here I'll do this as well, a view link, and hide project ID X. Well, in this case, project ID is not something we created in baserow, so for now this is not doing anything. But later on this might actually be used. So I'll hit preview now. And now when we go into the tour and we create a node, and then I'll say orange cables. Signed to Willem, hit submit, node's been added, I can create a new one, zoom out. And keep in mind that even like zooming, like the FOV is being recognized as well. So we can zoom all the way in and it will actually remember the zoom setting in the node itself, which is pretty awesome, I think. So let's create a node about this red cable. Assign this to myself, hit submit, and done. And now we go back to baserow and we can see orange cables and red cables. And yeah, that's the essence of this. And in a later point, I'm going to show you how to view those nodes, put that in an application in the front end, concatenate all these things with each other. But at this point, I think this is it for this episode. So thanks for watching. See you in the next one.